So today we're going to handle a very interesting topic and a very important topic in networking, that's called switch port security, or just port security. So basically, when you go to any organization and try to connect to the Ethernet port on the wall and to your computer, you will see that you access the internet. But you know, that's very risky for that organization, because if you are a bad guy who has knowledge about hacking, you have already accessed their network and you can launch malicious action against the organization. So what if we implement port security? So let's just understand what port security is. You see that by default, all interfaces in a Cisco switch are turned on. Hence, an attacker can connect to the network using these interfaces and may compromise the entire network. To prevent this, we implement what is called port security, so that these unauthorized users cannot access these ports. How does it work? The switch port security will try to limit the number of addresses a switch port can have, and in any case an unauthorized user is observed, then an action should be taken against that port. For example, let's say in the first port of a switch, which is FA01, we've specified rules that that port will only access two MAC addresses. Two MAC addresses are associated with devices, so it's like two devices at the same time. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so two MAC addresses, it's associated with two devices at the same time, so it's like a port connecting to only two devices. Let's say that's a CEO port. So CEO has only two devices, a computer and a laptop. So that port will only be connecting to CEO devices, the two devices. Whenever I try to connect to that port, I will be blocked. I will not be able to access the network. So that's the concept of port security. Alright. So we see that switches learn MAC address when the frame is forwarded through a switch port. So when we try to send data from our computer and we are connected to a switch, the switch will learn the MAC address of that computer and store it to what is called MAC address table. And by using port security, user can limit the number of MAC addresses that can be learned to a switch port through the following ways. So how does this thing, how can we know, how can we set the number of MAC addresses that we want that switch to access? We've said that we want that switch to access, that port to access only a maximum of two MAC addresses. And we have to specify these MAC addresses. We have to tell the switch that this is the only MAC address that should access you. This is the only MAC address that should access this port. How do we do it? We can do it manually, or we do it automatically. So manually, we just go to that device. And check on the MAC address of that computer and come back to our switch and enter that MAC address. The second method, which is called sticky, using a sticky command. A sticky command is kind of automatic way of extracting MAC address from a computer. So what we do, we connect that computer to that port, then we issue a sticky command. A sticky command will extract a MAC address from that computer and install it on the MAC address table. So watch out to understand that the port security is just a way of securing our ports from unwanted users. It's very important in our organization, because we can designate certain ports for certain people. For example, for finance department, it's a very, very sensitive department, and we can designate certain ports for only finance computers, so that when users try to connect to any finance port, they will be blocked. And that's why we need to implement port security. And port security basically uses what is called MAC address. So it's the MAC address that will be used to block or allow users as in certain ports. Alright. And I've said that these MAC addresses, they can be obtained, we can enter them manually, or they can be obtained automatically through a sticky command. The last statement. By using sticky command, user provides static MAC address security without trying to absolute MAC address. For example, if a user provides maximum of two, then the first two MAC address land on that port will be placed in the running configuration. After the second land port MAC address, if the third user wants to access the then appropriate action will be taken according to the violation mode applied, because we expect that only two users should access that port at the same time. Okay. So in port security, there are things that we call violation modes. Port security violation mode. So port security violation modes occurs when a maximum number of MAC addresses has been exceeded. Let's say we only specified 2 MAC addresses, but now a third MAC address is connecting to that port, and the switch will realize that violation will occur because the maximum number of MAC addresses have been exceeded, and that's why violation mode will be initiated at that point. And basically we have 3 violation modes. The first violation mode is called shutdown, which is a default violation mode. It's a default violation mode. Then the another one is called restrict and protect. And you know, these violation modes, they have their own advantages and limitations. For example, for a shutdown, I'll say that a shutdown violation mode is enabled by default. Why? Because it's the most efficient violation mode. So when we compare the violation mode on this table here, when we compare the violation modes on this table here, we can see that we have how many violations? 1, 2, 3. Protect, restrict, and shutdown. Yeah. So we want to compare them with these parameters: forward traffic, send syslog message, display error message, increases violation counter, and shut down the ports. Okay. The first thing, when violation occurs, will the port forward traffic? It's no in all the cases. The port will not forward traffic in all the cases. And if violation occurs, will the port send syslog messages? Syslog is just a kind of error messages. That's something, if a status, event status, when an event has occurred, syslog will automatically record that event. Will the port send syslog message? We can see under protect, the port will not send syslog message, but under restrict, the port will send syslog message, and under shutdown, the port will not send syslog message. I think here was an error. There was an error here, because shutdown normally sends syslog message, but I'm going to check through internet. Display error message. Not all, but I think this is a very outdated table. It's a very outdated table. I used it long time ago. And increases violation counter, the protector mode will not increase the violation counter. A restrict mode will increase the violation counter, and shutdown mode will increase the violation counter. And also shutting down the port. Whenever a violation occurs, protect does not shut down the port. restrict does not shut down the port, but shutdown will shut down the port. So I'll go to the internet and try to check these violation modes. Okay, so here are the violation mode. So we see that under the protect violation mode, the packet will be dropped when it has a known source MAC address, okay, until you remove it enough MAC address to drop the below maximum value. So under restrict, I just need port security violation modes table. Okay, so this is what I wanted, because the table that I was using is kind of outdated. So I'll just copy this image for demo purpose. No, I can't paste it anywhere. I'll just let it there and discuss from this point. So this is what I was discussing. Switch port action during port security violation. Whenever a violation has occurred, discarding offending traffic, all of them will discard the traffic. Sending log and SNMP messages. You see that protect doesn't send, but restrict and shut down sends. So our table was wrong on the stack here, because here it said no, which was very wrong. So our table, this table says that whenever violation occurs, the port will send logs and SNMP messages for restrict and shut down. Disable the interface by putting it in an error disabled state, or discarding all traffic. For under protect, it will be no, restrict no, but under shutdown it's yes. So basically that's what I was saying, that whenever violation occurs, shutdown will shut down the port, but the others will not shut down the port. So that's very, very important. You know, switch port security is a very, very important concept in network security, because we need to limit the number of users in the organization. We don't want everyone to access our network, and that's why we implement what's called switch port security. And that's all about the introduction or the basics about port security. And now we need to start doing the configuration part. We've seen how port security works, how the modes, the violation modes, and how to obtain MAC addresses. And basically in our configuration, we're going to use all the violation modes. And in future, when we are doing switch port security, we normally recommend shutdown violation mode. But for demo purpose, we're going to use all the violation modes so that you can have an idea of how to configure them. Okay, so I'll just open my Packet Tracer, and we need switches. So for example, I need this switch. I need this switch. I need this switch, and I need this switch. No, I don't need too many switches. I just need one switch for this demo, and 6 computers. Then I'll connect them.
Mama yagi. Yagi.
Ara.
Wela.
Oh, I'm sorry to ask if you had a question about the theory parts of switchboard security. So you can just ask me the question if you have the question, and we carry on.
Okay, let's go to the practical. I will have a question over it.
Okay.
The part I didn't understand about the, the, the table you were explaining about the extract, protect. I didn't understand how it works.
Okay. Okay, so I'll go back to the table and explain. Okay, so we were saying that when any unknown MAC address or MAC address are associated with host devices. So let's say any unknown computer is connected to that port, then a violation should occur because the computer is not in the white list. It's not in the list of allowed MAC addresses. So whenever violation occurs, there should be an action. There should be a mode that accompanies that violation. So that's what we call violation mode. There is a protect mode, a restrict mode, and shutdown mode. So whenever violation occurs, an unknown user connects to a port, and we have a protect as the violation mode, then these are the actions. It will discard the traffic. Yes, the traffic will not be able to circulate, go in the network. It will be discarded before it goes in the network. Will it send syslog message or send logs? Logs are just status event messages. Will protect mode send event messages? No. But will it disable the interface by putting it in error disabled state? No. Same applies to restrict mode. Restrict mode will discard the traffic. It will send logs, yes, but it will not disable the interface. What about shutdown mode? For shutdown mode will discard the traffic, yes. It will send log messages, yes, and it will disable the port. So shutdown mode, I'll say that this is the most efficient mode that we'll be using later in our projects. But for the demo purposes, we have to look into all the violation mode. So it's pretty much simple. The violation modes are pretty much simple. You just have to know that which violation mode do you need to use, and what which objective do you need to achieve. Yeah, so that's how it works. And if I can also search for a better table. This is the table that I used previously, and under syslog here it said that shutdown is no, which is wrong. Shutdown sends log messages. Okay, just a minute. Hello. Hello. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I just muted because my son was walking around.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Alright. So, do you now understand the violation modes?
So the violation, okay, according to me, did you say like when there is a violation,
Yes.
or like there is those three modes
Yeah.
which or three reaction that will occur.
Yeah.
There is protect, restrict, and shut down.
Yes.
So you say like for that, for each mode will be having those three reaction, like discard offending traffic. For protect, yes, to do that, and for restrict and shut down. But for sending logs on the SNP
Yeah.
message, for protect mode it won't send that.
Yeah.
For restrict it will send that, and for shutdown it will send that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, log messages, event messages, whenever something occurs, I think logs, for audit. So, we normally use logs for audit. Yeah. So, for example, also for NSMP, NSMP is simple network management protocol. So, all those messages will be sent when we use restrict and shutdown modes. And also, when we're disabling the port, whenever violation occurs, there should be an action that, prevents anyone from now accessing the port. Because let's say there's only one port that's designated for CEO in the company. And when you connect that port, I am an authorized user though, but I connect that port. That port is not disabled when I use protect or restrict mode. But when I try to use shutdown mode, that port will be disabled, and it will be a responsibility of network administrator to re-enable that port again so that the CEO can now access it. So it will just shut down the port completely until the system administrator enable it. And we are going to look this practically. I'm going to demonstrate everything practically. Okay, so I'll just go back to Packet Tracer and show you this. Okay. So in the first case, I just want to have, let's say, violation mode of protect. Here is restrict, and finally here to be shut down. Okay, so I will go to this switch and start configuring switch port security. And the best thing to always do is to highlight the steps. I always like highlighting steps. The first step is to check interfaces, connecting to intended users. So after checking the interfaces that are connected to the internet users, you do what? You make them access ports. So I was trying to I led the step. So you have to check the interface that are connected to the intended users. Yeah, then you have to make them access port. Then you have to activate uh, port security. Then after activating port security, then you have to specify the number of required MAC addresses. Then after identifying the number of required MAC addresses, now a method of obtaining these MAC addresses. Method of obtaining these MAC addresses. After specifying the method of obtaining these MAC addresses, finally you configure violation mode. Okay, so these are the steps. For example, on this topology, we are going to identify these interfaces that are connecting the PCs. Then we are going to make them access ports. Then we are going to activate what is called port security. Then we are going to specify the number of MAC addresses that we want each port to access at a given time. And finally, the second last point is to a method of obtaining these MAC addresses. And finally, we configure violation mode. Okay, so I take on this switch. I come to CLI, enable config T. Then when I go to the first step, which is to check interface connecting to intended users, I want to finish with these users first. So I will check these interfaces. FA01 hub, check hub on the switch. FA01 hub on the switch. Then FA02 up on the switch. So it's interface range FA0/1 to 2. Hit enter. Then the next step is to make them access ports. Then say switch port mode access, and you hit enter. The next step is to
Switch port, switch port access.
Switch port mode access steps. So we follow these steps. Then the next step is to activate port security while we are still on the range. So we just say switch port port security. We just activate port security. That's this way. Switch port security. That's command. That command. Activate switch port security. Switch port security. Now we are on step 4. Specify the number of required MAC addresses. Okay. We are on a range. Interface range, this one to this one. So it's like we are configuring a given parameter to each interface. So let's say switch port security maximum to be 1. So let's say we want only one devices to access a given port at a time. We want only one device to access one port. So we specify number of required MAC addresses. That's why I'm saying switch port security maximum number of MAC address to be 1, and you hit enter. Now step 5 is the method of obtaining MAC addresses. It just says still switch port, port security, MAC address to be, let's query. You see there are two methods. The first method is you manually enter the MAC address, and the second method is to use a sticky command which will extract the MAC addresses automatically from the computer. So in this case we are going to use sticky command, sticky, and you hit enter. And finally, violation mode. Violation mode here is protect. So we just say violation mode, switch port, port security, violation to be protect, and hit enter, exit, and do right. So it's pretty much simple. It's very, very simple what I'm saying here. I'll just try to repeat before I go to the other configuration. The first thing is to check the interface is connecting to intended users. We want to configure the two interfaces, the first interface and the second interface that are connected to PC0 and PC1. Make them access. We have to make them access. Then activate port security. How do we activate port security? It's a very simple command. We just say switch port, port security. Very simple. That's how we activate port security. Then the next step is to specify the number of MAC addresses we need the ports to access. So we just specify switch port, port security maximum number to be 1. Okay. Then method of obtaining MAC addresses. We said there are two methods. One is manual one, and the second one is using sticky command. And the sticky command is automatic way of obtaining MAC addresses from computer. So just say switch port, port security, MAC address, sticky. Okay. Then finally, you configure violation mode. Violation mode is very easy to configure. Just say switch port, port security, violation, protect. So as you can see, it's a it's like a pattern. After entering this the interfaces and activating making them access ports, I mean, when you start on the port security, when you start on activating port security, you can see the first command is now the first two commands are switch port, port security, then something. For example, when you have to add MAC address, switch port, port security, maximum only 1. Then you have to obtain MAC address, switch port, port security, MAC address, that one. Then you have to configure violation mode, switch port, port security, violation, that one. It's pretty much simple. It's very, very simple. Very, very simple. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll assign these computers IP addresses. I'll go to this computer and I'll say 192.168.1.2, and I copy, I mark them, copy, and I go to this PC also, and I paste that, make it .3. That's okay. Okay, so I'll try to ping the other PC, ping the first PC. It's pinging. Then I go to this, then I go to this PC also, and ping .3, ping .3. Okay, it's pinging. Then if I go to this switch and say do show MAC address, MAC, how do you normally do it? Ambiguous command, exit, show MAC MAC address table. MAC address table, we can see there are only 2 PCs that have registered their MAC addresses in the switch. And on those ports, we have FA0/1 and FA0/2. And as you can remember, on FA0/1 and FA0/2, we have configured switch port security to only allow a maximum of 1 MAC address to connect to that port. And suppose a violation occurs, then shutdown, a protect violation mode should be recorded. Okay. Then, if I can just go to that switch again, this switch again, and say show port security. Port security. You can see we have under FA0/1 and FA0/2 the violation mode should be protect. Okay, so we want to violate the policy and see what will happen here. I just want to violate policy and see what will happen here. I will include another PC that is called ACA PC. And I will give it IP address of .20. Okay. And now I want to connect this port. Let's say I want to forcefully remove this PC1. So I will just remove this interface and connect it to this PC here. Remember, this was the PC that was supposed to connect to this switch. But now I have stolen the cable and connected to my computer. So there's a bad guy. Let's say this is the bad guy there. This is the bad guy. This is the hacker. So the hacker is trying to access a port that was only designated for this PC. So I want to try to ping this PC0. Remember, PC0 was ping. PC0 was 1.2, and I tried to ping. You can see the communication will not reach. Why? That port, that MAC address is not registered. It's not in the white list of allowed VLAN to access that port. And if I can just go to the switch, you can see what has happened. A syslog has been recorded. LAN protocol on this interface tends to this was it's not about the violation, because I plugged out the cable and plugged it in. Whenever you plug out the cable and plug it in, you see this this message. So I just want to display this thing again. Show port security. Then we go to that table and see what was there. So under restrict, we were using protect. Protect doesn't send us log messages, and it doesn't disable the interface, but it discards the traffic. As you can see, we were not able to ping from this PC to the other PC. So I think this PC is, let me just check again, 1.2, but we could not ping it from from PC6, which is the ACA PC. Okay, so I will proceed. I'll just try to return this cable to the intended PC. I will proceed to restrict violation mode. The first thing, check the connecting interface of the intending users. For example, I'll just place the cursor here, FA0/3, FA0/4. Then you go to that switch and you say config interface range FA0/3 to 4. Switch port mode
access.
Then we just follow this simple steps. We activate port security. How do we activate port? Very simple. Just say switch port security.
Port security.
Yeah, just one command like that. Then from that point, you have to realize that you're using a pattern. Everything we are going to configure here, we must start with switch port security. So switch port security specify the number of the required MAC addresses. Let's say we want only one MAC address to be registered to that port at the.
So my question is that when you're saying or when you're determining the maximum MAC address, that means it's only that device which will be accessible at that time, or I don't know why it's a 1 or 2.
Sorry.
The when you're saying specify the number of MAC address,
Yes.
what does it mean?
Well, when we want to specify the number of the maximum number of MAC addresses, we want to tell the port to only accept those numbers only. Let's say we want the port to access only one MAC address at the same time. So the port will only know that I'm here to allow access to only one MAC address. I don't know if you are understanding what I'm trying to say. For example, here, when I said do show port security, you can see that maximum number of secured address should be only one on this port and only one on this port. Whenever someone tries to connect to this port and his or her MAC address has not been included in the whitelist, then the computer will be blocked. So we must specify the number of MAC addresses to use in the port. So for example, here also I want only one computer to access one port at the same time. So I'll just say 1 and I hit enter. Sorry, we just say maximum to be only 1. Then what's next? Method of obtaining MAC address. We said the first method we can use let me just say switch port security MAC address. If we try to query, the first method is to copy the MAC address manually, and the second method is to use the sticky command. And remember, here we use the sticky command, and now here I want us to use the manual method of copying MAC addresses. And you know, we are using a range. We are using a range. We are using a range here. So the best thing is to use sticky command. The manual one is normally used when we don't use interface range, because you know when you use the range, it's like you're configuring the same parameters to the same interfaces. So if I specify the manual MAC address here, meaning it's only that MAC address that will be accessed to all the ports. So we should just use sticky. I'll just use sticky, and I will demonstrate for manual in the other in the later when we shall have done with the shutdown. Sticky. Then switch port violation mode to be restrict, and hit enter, exit. Alright, so for example, when I say do show port security, you can see FA0/1 and 2 are under protect violation mode, but FA0/3 and 4 are under restrict violation mode. And as you can see, under the counter addresses, you can see the protect has already counted 1 1, but under the restrict there's no counter under the counter column. Why? Because we will not try to ping from this PC to this PC. So I'll just assign them IP addresses. I'll assign them IP addresses. Let's say this is .10 and this one is .11 and this one is .11 and this one is .11. So let me take ping.10. It's pinging. Then I come to .10 and also try to ping .11. Ping .11. It's pinging. So I'll go to this switch again and say do show port security. Now you will see all are 1 1 because they have recorded the counter. It has recorded MAC address. So if I can just say do show MAC address table, you can see we have 4 MAC addresses that have been recorded in the switch. So basically, switch normally record MAC address depending on the source, the person who sends message. When this computer sends message, the switch will when this computer sends message, the switch will record that MAC address. But you know, this one has not sent any message, and the switch has not recorded any MAC addresses. Okay, just a minute. So I was saying that we are doing under restrict, and we try to ping. I was saying that switch normally record MAC address based on who sends message. This one and this one has not sent message, and that's why you see there are only 4 MAC addresses here. And the recording interface, you can see, is from port 1 to port 4. Okay. So also, let's finally configure violation mode of shutdown. Sorry, we have not tested the hacker PC. So I just say hacker. So we need to test hacker PC. I just try to plug from that computer to the hacker PC, and you can see hacker PC is connecting to FA0/4, which is under port security. FA0/4 is under port security here. So FA0/4 is under port security. You can see there. So what I'll do, I'll just wait it to turn here to turn green, so that I can try to ping any of the PCs, which is .10 or .3 or .2. Okay, it has turned green, so I'll just go to that PC and try to ping .10 now, .2 first. It will not ping. It will not ping. Then I try to ping .3. It will not ping. And I also try to ping .10. It will not ping because this MAC address is not under the switch port. It's not secured. It's not under the switch port security. So if I just go there and say do show port security. So when I say, we were saying something like this. Let me just go to the table again. Restrict. We say that restrict reports syslog messages. and just a minute. Restrict increases the violation counter. For example, violation counters meaning when user is trying to forcefully access the port. Whenever I'm trying to send message to other people, that's the violation counters. How many times did I try to send a message? That's what we call violation counter. If we come to this port 004, we see that the violation counter has increased to 8 because I've tried to send message through that port 8 times. Let me just count. The first ping, the second ping, third ping, fourth ping, sixth ping, seventh ping, this seventh ping. So if I can just try again and send, you can see the violation counter will increase from 8 even to 12. So let me just wait until all the violation counter under restrict mode, the violation counter increases, but under protect mode violation counter does not increase. So I will just issue this command again and see if violation counter has increased. So you can see it has increased to 12. Why? Because an unauthorized user was trying to access that port and sending messages 12 times. Okay. So basically, I think we will just learn how to configure violation mode of shutdown. I'll just return this one here. So the first step, check the interface connects to the intending user. So it's FA6 to FA5, FA5 to FA6. So interface range FA0/5 to 6. Then switch port mode access. Then switch port. We enable port security. These steps, very important. Okay. Then the next step is to we have activated port security. The next step is to specify a maximum number of MAC addresses. Then we say maximum, switch port security, maximum to be only one at a time. Maximum to be only one MAC address at a time. Then the method of obtaining MAC addresses. We said the method of obtaining MAC address basically we normally use sticky command. But I'm going to demonstrate. Also the manual method later. MAC address to be sticky command. So how to obtain MAC address sticky command. Then finally violation mode. Switch port security, violation to be shut down. Hit enter, exit. Alright, then do run. Now what do we need to show? Do show port security. So you see we have configured all the port security, the violation modes. We started by protect, restrict, and finally a shutdown. And under shutdown you can see we have only secured one address per port. But current address is 0 here because the switch has not learned the MAC addresses until we shall have communicated. So that's why when we need to assign IP address to this port, to this computer and this computer. So I'll just try and assign it. So let's do this 30 and this is 31. Okay. So we ping ping, start, it's pinging. Then I come to this PC here, ping .31. Okay, alright, so we go to this switch again and say do show port security. You can now see all of them have recorded MAC addresses. So that MAC address is designated for that port. And if you can just say do show MAC address table, you see now we have 6 MAC addresses from port 1, port 3, port 6, port 5, port 2, and port 4, because all of them have sent messages. And finally, what we need to test is to test a violation. Remember, here we said a violation of shutdown will shut down the port. Shutdown will shut down the port, but protect and restrict will not shut down the port. And that's why we've seen we are trying to ping from our ACA PC, but the port was not shutting down. So I'll just try to plug out this cable from this computer and plug to my PC here, ACA PC there. I will wait until this turns in and try to ping. You will see that this port will be shut down because the violation mode of port 6 is that's port 5. Port 5 and port 6, the violation mode is shut down. So let us wait and try to ping any of the PCs in the network. That port will turn red. The interfaces will turn red, meaning it's in a shutdown state. Okay, so I'll just go and try to ping. Let me put it somewhere here so that you can see. So I'll try to ping. You can see it has been shut down. It has been shut down. That's a violation mode of shutdown. It shut down the port. Yes, here. And that's why we normally recommend it, because we don't know the intelligence of the person. If you don't shut down the port, we may not know the intelligence of that person. So that's why we need to shut down the port. And to turn on the port, even if now we connect the right computer, it will not turn on until you go to that port and turn on the port manually if you are a system administrator. So let's go to this computer. Let's go to this computer and say do show port security. So you can see even under FA0/5, evaluation mode as a counter here is 1. Counter here is 1. And if I try to ping again, the mode has now been shut down. The port has now been shut down, and now we cannot do anything. The port is in error disabled state. This one, error disabled state. Disable by putting the port in error disabled state. Error disabled state is like putting something in a hanging state, in a loop. It's unusable until you turn it on. And how do we solve that problem? How do we solve this problem? Because even if we try to connect it back to the right computer, it will be still red because it has been put in error disabled state. So we individually go to that port interface, FA0/5. Then the first thing that we do, we shut it down. Remember, it is in error disabled state. We shut it down first. Shut. Okay, then we turn it on again. No shut. So you see, it's turning green. So that's very important about port security. That's very important about security, and that's why we normally recommend shutdown as the violation mode to be used. So I was saying that we went to a situation where we which we obtain MAC addresses using a manual method of inputting just MAC addresses. So I'll just connect that computer and I'll see which port is this one. That's a FS7 on this side. Okay, I'll try to assign IP address to this port. Let's say it's .70. Okay, then I go to this switch and I say exit, then interface FA0/7. When we are doing a manual address allocating, we do it in the individual interfaces. We don't do it in a range. So interface that one. Then we say switch port mode access. Then switch port mode access. Then switch port security. Okay, then we specify the number of MAC addresses. Let's say in this port now the CEO has a computer and a laptop, so we have to specify the maximum number of MAC addresses 2. Switch port security will be only 2 because we want that port to access the CEO laptop and a desktop computer. So we will assume that this one is the laptop, and I go here and hit enter. Sorry, switch port security maximum 2. And now what's the next step? The method of obtaining MAC addresses. We said here now we want to do it manually. Then we say switch port security MAC address. We obtain it manually. We go to the individual computer, we click on the computer, and then we come to config and fast Ethernet 0. We click on fast Ethernet 0. You click on fast Ethernet 0 and you copy this MAC address. I'll just copy it. Copy. After clicking the computer, you go to fast Ethernet 0, and here is the MAC address. So you come and paste the MAC address and hit enter. Then we have specified the maximum of 2 MAC addresses. We were saying that this is, let me just put it in laptop for a good demo. We said that this is a CEO computer, this is a CEO laptop, and we have specified the MAC address of the CEO computer. So we need to extract the MAC address of the laptop. You go to config, fast Ethernet 0, and you copy this. Copy. Then you come to the switch, and you repeat the same process. You delete the first MAC address like that one, and you input that one and hit enter. Exit. Sorry, violation mode now. Configure violation mode switch port security, violation. Let's be shut down because we said that shut down is the standard. I mean, it's the best way. And exit. Do right. So basically, when I say do show port security. Sorry. Port. You can see port 7. You can see it's different from the first port. Port 7 is accessing how many MAC addresses? Only 2, because we specified, and the number of secured MAC addresses that we've added there are 2. I think now you understand, yeah? And if you can just say do show MAC address table. You see port 7, there are 2 MAC addresses under port 7, which is the MAC address of the computer and the MAC address of the laptop. Okay, now I want to try and connect ACA laptop to this interface, FS0/7. I plug out that just a minute. I need to test communication first between them. So I'll wait until this one turns green. It's pretty much simple. It's pretty much simple. I wait until it turns green. Okay, it just turned green. So I'll go to desktop, command prompt, and try to ping 192. Sorry. 192.168.1.even10. It's pinging. Okay, it's pinging. So I go to the laptop because the MAC address is in the whitelist. The laptop MAC address in the whitelist. I'll wait until it turns green, but before that I'll allocate the IP address because I didn't allocate the IP address. 192.168.1.71. Okay, I hope this is .70. Good. So I'll just try to ping any IP address. Ping 192.168.1.2. It's ping. Okay. Why? Because these MAC addresses are allowed in the switch here. Sorry. Here they are allowed. They are allowed there. So I'll plug out this from laptop and try it from Aka's computer. I'll wait until it turns green here and try to ping. So hacker computer. So I'll wait until it turns green and try to ping. So port security is pretty much simple. Then we try to ping. Let's try to ping. Remember, on FA0/7, we configured the violation mode of shutdown, meaning whenever we try to send any message, this port should be in shutdown state. So I hit enter, and you see, nothing's happening. I mean, it has turned red, but on the issue of ping, it cannot ping. And if I just go to the switch, I say do show port security. Yeah. So you can see FA0/7 has recorded a violation counter.
So
Yeah. So that's how to do it. Very, very simple. I think you have seen how to, and most importantly, you know, in your simulation or sometimes when you're doing simulation, don't forget to return this cable where it was. And even if you return it, you know, it's still red. So what do? We just say interface FA0/7. You shut it down fast. Then you say no shut. Then it will come back. We say that it puts the port in error disabled state. Although it's in shutdown, but the state is error disabled state. To remove a port from error disabled state to a normal a hub state, you have to shut down the port first, then turn it on. Shut, then no shut. Okay, so maybe if you don't understand any part, and you repeat, because I think I have exhausted about port security, the violation modes, and how to configure MAC addresses both statically or dynamically. Statically, we input, we go to individual computers, we go to config, we go to 5 0 and copy this MAC address and come to the switch and paste that MAC address like I did it here. Like I did it here. So that's how to do it. And these are the basic steps of how to do it. The first thing to do is to check the interface of interest. Then make the interface to be access port. After making the interface to be access port, then you have to activate port security on those interfaces. After activating port security, then you have to specify the maximum. I have exhausted all the mods and how to configure them, how to obtain MAC address, how to specify MAC address, the maximum number of MAC addresses, and the manual way or the automatic way of how to configure obtain MAC addresses. So maybe if you have any misunderstanding or doubt on port security, so that I can explain it in simple terms.
Okay, briefly, according to what I've seen, you said for this configuration, you will do the same thing to all those three modes, either to protect, to extract, and shut down.
Yeah.
And for these, you have to check the interfaces. On at this point, I was saying like you do only do range. That means you do interface for one, even if there are three computers, but it will just make sure to include their ranges so that you can configure at one time for all the modes.
Yeah.
Like if it's for the restrict or for the protect, if there is more than three computer, you will just check their interfaces and do the range and the configure at once, not doing every not configuring for every piece or for every computer.
Yeah.
So the steps like there is a where I didn't understand.
Yes, I understand. Can I tell you where I didn't understand? You know, when we were specifying range and the maximum was 1 and you are seeing 2 computers, is that where you are having the misunderstanding?
Yeah.
Good. Well, what I'm trying to say, let me just go up. Good. Let me just try to do it again. Exit. Interface range. FA0/1 to 2. Switch port. Port security. We have already port security. Then switch port security maximum 1. Now I will explain. Although there are 2 interfaces, they can be even 20, but we will still put 1. You know, each time you are configuring a certain parameter per interface. So this one will be per interface. This one maximum number of address will be per interface. You know, when we configure 2, when we configure 2 here, meaning there will be only 2 MAC addresses per interfaces. For example, let's just say exit, and I say from port 1 to port 20. I will need another switch. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can understand.
I need another switch. Okay. And so I'll connect them very, very fast to explain that scenario. The first thing that I'll do, I'll just say here, on the normal switch. Do show start. When I say do show start, you can see switch port per port. You can see access mode. The port securities are activated. Then MAC address to be sticky command. Then violation mode of shutdown and MAC address has been specified here. Okay. I want you to compare this. I will go to this switch here. There are 4 computers. I go to that switch and say enable config switch port mode interface range FA0/1 2. There are 4 computers to 4. Then switch port mode access. Then switch port security. Then switch port security maximum. You are seeing now we have 4 computers. Now you want us to put how many maximum? 4. Good. I just want you to know. Good. Maximum of 4 MAC addresses. Then switch port MAC address to be sticky. Good. Then port security violation mode to be shut down. Good. Exit and do right. Okay. Then I say do show or start. Can you see what's happening here? Let's say I wanted each port to access 1 MAC addresses, but in the configuration I said maximum to be 4 because there were 4 computers. So you can see here, just a minute. You can see here, every port has a maximum of 4 MAC addresses, but that was contrary to my objective. I wanted each port to access only 1 MAC address at the same at a time. So what to do here? What's happening here is just a misunderstanding, a little bit of misunderstanding, and that's what I want to clear out. When we are configuring the parameter in a range, the parameter applies to individual port. It doesn't combine the port and divide the configuration. When I specify here to be 4, that 4 will be applied to individual ports. That 4 will not be 1 for each port. So for example, if I go back, and I say maximum of 1, exit and do right, then do show start. So you can see the 4 has now disappeared. There are only by default it's always 1 MAC address to be configured. Can you hear me? Hello?
I didn't know that I muted that. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I got you now.
Yeah. So when you're configuring something on a range, you don't do it for, let's say, how can I say this? When you have a range of 1 to 4, so when specifying MAC address, don't specify 4 if your objective was to have 1 MAC address per port. Because if you specify a maximum of 4, each port will have 4. So your objective should be the number of MAC address that you need to include there. So that's why I was configuring that. You can see the range, because I didn't want to go to each interface and configure the same parameter. Because if I could go to interface, this thing here, just a minute. this parameter here, switch port for security here, will apply maximum of number of 1, will apply to every port. Only one will be accepted per port. Even if the range was from 1 to 24, but we want only a port to access one MAC address, we can just say that one. But on this side, we wanted this port to access two MAC addresses, and that's why we were including the MAC address of this computer and this computer. It's pretty much simple, very, very simple. And so that's how to configure switch port or port security using Packet Tracer. Is inclusive of the violation mode as stated here. So maybe if you have another question so that I can clarify.
I didn't understand the way you were just going to the computer and copy the MAC address.
Okay.
How did you do that?
I will repeat it again. So let me use the new switch. Let me use the new switch. I'll start doing. Okay. So for example, interface range FA0/124. I'm configuring on the other side.
One second.
Yes, no problem.
I'm back.
Okay, no problem. So I want to configure port security on this switch for these 4 computers. So I go to this switch and say this interface range from 1 to 4, then make them access port mode access. Then switch port will activate now the port security, switch port security.
Port security.
Okay. Then switch port security, we express the maximum number of address per interface. Let's say per interface we need only one MAC address, only one, maximum 1, because this one will apply to every interface in this range. FA1, FA2, FA3, and FA4, and Ethernet. Then switch port. Now we enter the MAC address that we need that port to access. Port security, switch port security, MAC address. So, when you're using a range, I want to repeat, when you're using a range, you cannot enter a MAC address manually, because what you enter here will apply for every interface. What you enter here will apply for every interface. For example, if I go to this computer here, and I go to config, and you go to pass Ethernet 0, and we take this MAC address, I copy, I come back to this switch and apply that MAC address here. Then this MAC address will apply to the 4 interfaces. If you are using a range, don't use a manual method of inputting MAC address. So let me just hit enter. You can see found duplicate, found duplicate, found duplicate. Just a minute. So I just say switch port, port security, violation to be shut down. Okay, exit and do show run. Found duplicate, found duplicate. So that's why I'm telling you, when you are configuring port security, and you want to use a manual way of inputting MAC addresses, don't use this range, because when you're
The
using a
range.
range, this MAC address, the manual MAC address that you've just entered, will be applied to both interfaces, and both interfaces cannot have the same MAC address. That's why you're seeing found duplicate MAC address, found duplicate MAC address, and that's why we come back to the new concept of let me just disable port security on that interfaces. Just say no port security, no port, no switch port security. Good. Exit, and now do show run. Port security is still applied here. Do right, do show start. Port security is still applied there. So what I'll do, I'll just enter those interfaces again and say no switch port security, MAC address sticky. Okay, do show run. This still have a MAC address, so copy interface FA0/1, paste that, and I say no to this command. Exit, do right. Okay, so let me just explain what we are trying to say. The manual way of entering MAC addresses, you go to this switch. We say now when we are doing a manual way of entering MAC addresses, you don't use range. We just say interface individually, FA0/1. Then you say switch port mode, access, then switch port security, then switch port security, maximum number of MAC address to be, let's say 1. Then switch port security, MAC address to be, now we go to that computer that's connected to FA01. This is connected to FA01. You go to it, then you go to config, then first time is 0, then you copy this MAC address. I copy it, okay, and then I come to switch and paste it here. Switch port security MAC address, that one, and I hit it enter. Then switch port security, a violation of shutdown. Exit.
So, like for this violation, we always put shutdown.
Shutdown. I see that the most preferred violation mode, we should always use shutdown. We say that there are 3 violation modes: protect, restrict, and shutdown. And we'll be using shutdown in all the configuration. But for this demo purpose, I've demonstrated how to configure using restrict, protect, and shutdown.
Okay.
Oh, did I answer your question? Because
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we go individually to port 2, port 3, port 4, and do the same. I'll just go here and say FA0/2, then switch port mode access, then switch port security. We enable port security, then switch port maximum of 1. Then now switch port MAC address. We delete that one. Then we come to this second PC. We click on it. We come to config, first than is 0, and we copy this. And I come to this one and just click on paste and hit enter. Then say switch port shut the violation mode of shutdown, exit, and do it. So this one will repeat for all the PCs in the network, and that's why I was opposed to using the manual way of inputting MAC addresses, because you have to go individually to each interface and enable port security, specify the maximum number of MAC addresses, and specify the MAC address to that port. But while we were using sticky command, we just enter a range, like here. We just enter a range and the maximum number of MAC addresses, and we use the sticky command to obtain the MAC address dynamically and the violation mode. And that will apply to all the interfaces that we just...
Oh, when are you using the range, you have to put MAC address sticky.
Yes.
Sticky, and but still, where do you put those MAC address?
Sorry?
So for when you're using the interface range,
Yes.
you use sticky.
Yes, I use sticky.
But I want to know, how about those numbers, those MAC address? Where did you get them?
Okay. So sticky command, I said sticky command is a way of dynamically extracting MAC addresses from the connecting computer. So sticky command will go to this computer here and extract its MAC address and install in the a number of keyword.
Oh, yeah.
So if you go to this computer here and extract the MAC address from the computer and install in the ports the number of secured MAC addresses. Yeah, but in when we're using manual way of doing it, we need to specify the MAC address, because there is no mechanism of extracting MAC address from the computers.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So in the assignment, I'll also give the two scenario of manual and sticky, and all the violation mode, so that you can have a full understanding of the modes. But it's very, very important. I say that in the coming configuration, we'll be using sticky as the method of obtaining MAC addresses, and the violation mode of shutdown. Because you see in the shutdown state, we obtain a maximum security where the port was being shut down. Yeah, but in the other modes, you could see even after violation of card, the port was not shut down. And suppose the attacker had enough intelligence or prior knowledge to other ways of bypassing that violation mode, then it could definitely attack our network. But when the port is shut down, it cannot send anything, meaning attacker will be blocked. So shutdown violation mode is the best mode of street port security.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe if you still have another question to clarify, but these steps are you have to follow the steps and see what I was doing in the video, so that you can understand it better. When I send this assignment, basically I think the assignment will look like this, and now we'll just have maybe 4 parts from, let's say, part 1 for sticky, 2 for sticky, 3 for sticky, and 4 for the 4th part for static MAC address allocation, something like that. Yeah. And you have to know the maximum number of MAC address to allow on a port. For example, in the assignment we'll be told to allow a maximum of 3 MAC addresses in the port. So when you're doing this, let me just scroll back down. When you're in a range and you have been told to allow that a given maximum number of MAC addresses, then let's say 3, then here you just definitely put 3 or 5 if you have been told to do that. So it's pretty much simple. This command here will enable the maximum number of addresses per interface. Even if there are 20 interfaces, but you just specified here 2, there are only 2 maximum number of address per interface. So I think that's it, and